This podcast serves Middle Tennessee every weekday morning, and it's made possible by member support. Learn how you can make a difference at WPLN.org/support.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's January 26th, 2026. Wow, what a weekend. Remember when they said we might get a foot of snow? Instead, we got a thick crust of ice that's taking down limb after limb from the trees, snapping power lines in the process. This is going to be a long, cold experience. We've got days to go before the storm has truly left us. I'll have the latest updates in a few minutes during this episode's newscast. But before that, did you know that on this day in 1961, Elvis Presley's recording of Are You Lonesome Tonight hit number one? It was the first big comeback for Elvis, who had mostly been out of the music scene for a couple of years after being drafted into the Army. You could say it was a comeback of sorts for the song, too. It was written in 1927 and recorded several times that year by different artists. And it had been a moderately successful instrumental hit in 1950 for the Blue Baron Orchestra. But of course, there's just something extra special about the longing and tenderness that Elvis gave it. And the lyrics asking, "Do you miss me? Are you sorry we drifted apart?" Hit a little different for fans who had very much missed having new songs and performances from their favorite heartthrob. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your Daily Digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. Well, there's a very good chance that a lot of people around the mid-state are feeling a little extra lonely right now. Winter weather like what hit us this weekend is especially hard on folks who live alone. It's dangerously hard on folks who are not just alone, but vulnerable, which is why emergency officials issue reminders urging us to check in on any neighbors who might need extra help, like older folks or people with disabilities. If someone near you normally depends on visits from family members, friends who live in other parts of town, or assistance groups that make house calls, they may be going longer than usual without their normal support systems. Now, some of those assistance groups do try to still make it out to their clients, no matter what the weather. Late last week, Meals on Wheels was putting out calls on Facebook for volunteer drivers who could commit to delivering food to homebound people, no matter what condition the roads might be in. Metro Social Services tried to get ahead of it, dropping off emergency food supplies in advance of the weather, helping people build up their reserves. But of course, you can have all the food you need and still be hit pretty hard by the experience of facing this kind of weather on your own. A study published in 2019 by the American Psychological Association found that the temperature has a distinct impact on our emotions. The colder someone is, the more likely they are to express a desire to be around other people, which can be a painful desire to have when there's no one else in the house with you. And interestingly, a social experiment performed at the University of Toronto found that people in the midst of being socially excluded, in other words, made to feel alone, feel physically colder than people who aren't. The ambient temperature may not be any different, but our brains perceive a kind of chill when we're lonely. Now, there's a chemical reason for those connections. The hormone oxytocin serves multiple functions in the body. It plays a big part in the way the brain behaves when we make social connections, including romantic ones. And separately, it's also tied to the way the body regulates temperature. Either one of those factors, socializing or feeling temperature extremes, can affect how much oxytocin we're pumping out, which in turn affects how we experience the other factor, which is how we get to the place where the low temperatures of a winter storm can really ratchet up those feelings of loneliness. Now, the flip side of it is that we can use that emotional connection to temperature to take a little more control of our feelings. We can boost that oxytocin, cheer ourselves, and take the edge off the loneliness by physically warming up our bodies. And so whether you're helping yourself or checking in on that neighbor, on days like today, it's good to keep in mind that it really is normal if the cold makes you feel kind of sad and crummy. If you have the power to do it, the electricity, cranking up the space heater or sipping on a hot beverage, or at the very least, bundling in a blanket, can both warm you up, as in warm your body a little, and warm you up by taking the edge off of that difficult emotion. In just a few minutes, how a public health assistance program offers special help for folks expecting a baby. That's coming up after the newscast.
Tennessee's legislature has passed a record-breaking number of anti-LGBTQ laws. I'm Mariana Baca-Yao, and as WPLN's Power and Equity reporter, I focus not only on how marginalized communities contend with those new laws, but how they come together in spite of them.
I think what gives me hope is that someone like you is covering this. Because if the overwhelming narrative is one of defeat, how can we have hope?
Listen here on 90.3 WPLN News.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. Tennesseans are living out a dire ice storm scenario as weekend ice accumulation surpassed expectations. 3 Tennesseans have died in the winter storm. Officials are bracing for days of recovery from widespread power outages and recovery efforts slowed by ice and downed trees. The storm has brought the region to a standstill. Schools are out. Nashville's airport control tower is closed. Bus service was scaled back dramatically in Nashville. And TDOT responded to more than 800 incidents on state roads over the weekend. The ice isn't going anywhere. Temperatures are expected to hover below freezing all week and down into the single digits. National Weather Service meteorologist Faith Borden says a big concern is flash freezing.
When temperatures are this cold, any moisture will immediately freeze on the surface.
Another concern? Wind. Gusts could reach 25 miles per hour through most of today. That usually wouldn't be an issue, but it means even more pressure on trees and power lines. Widespread and long-lasting power outages continue across the state. At the peak yesterday, more than 300,000 people were without power, more than any other state caught in the winter storm. There are still around 248,000 customers without power statewide at the time that I record this, and many of them are in Davidson County. Nashville Electric Service said late yesterday that this is a record-setting outage, with more than 70 broken poles and numerous circuits out as of the time of that briefing. Toppled trees, crashing limbs, and exploding transformers have made it unsettling for almost anyone who ventures outdoors. Heading into the evening, Brent Baker with NES said the utility was scrambling to respond, but it's a complicated situation with so many lines down.
Our crews are assessing. We're out actually doing some work to restore already. But as tonight comes through and tomorrow, we'll get more information about just what all we have to do to restore. We are letting people know this is going to be a prolonged event, likely multiple days.
Drinking water facilities are also impacted, but still providing water in 9 counties. Getting around has already hard this weekend, and word is it's only getting harder. The Tennessee Highway Patrol reported more than 150 obstructed roads and 36 crashes as of yesterday afternoon. Temperatures inched just above freezing in late morning during a steady rain. Tennessee Emergency Management Director Patrick Sheehan says that was likely to undo some of the prep work.
We saw some conditions get better over the course of the day. That's going to change as we have rain that's going to dilute some of the treatment, and we'll continue to see refreezing.
The thaw and refreeze also make black ice more likely. Here's Nashville Department of Transportation Director Philip Jones.
It's a little more treacherous than what we had earlier, just because you can't see it. It looks like the road may be clear, but it'll be a solid sheet of ice.
As for air travel, the John C. Toon Airport is closed until at least 9 this morning. Nashville International Airport was technically open over the weekend, but the air traffic control tower closed overnight because of a staffing shortage. In a rare move signaling the impact of the winter storm, Metro opened its fire stations and police precincts as cold weather warming locations. The Nashville Fire Department opened all 39 Nashville fire stations, and most Metro Nashville precinct community rooms were also opened yesterday. The fire department locations are open 24/7, but they mostly do not have overnight accommodations. The Nashville Fairgrounds is an exception, says Metro Police Chief John Drake.
The fairgrounds would probably be the first location that you can go because we got cots set up and we got Red Cross members there. We'll have the ability to feed.
2 Metro Parks community centers, Madison and Southeast, also have cots. Statewide, there are more than 100 warming centers open with varying local hours and availability. Warming centers in Knoxville are serving hundreds of unhoused people after this weekend's wintry weather and sharp drop in temperature overnight. Linda Conaway is the executive director of Relaunch, a nonprofit serving as a seasonal shelter in downtown Knoxville. She says it reached capacity days ago and was one of few that were open on Saturday due to anticipated poor road conditions. Relaunch's capacity more than doubled to 130 people ahead of the storm. And Conway says her team is prepared to serve at least an additional 200 people during the cold days to come.
We haven't had this long stretch of cold yet this season, and that's been really fortunate for those camping outside. Everybody's going to need the opportunity to reset and reinforce because a lot of folks just won't be prepared for this length of cold.
Knoxville has not had the snow and ice that the mid-state is experiencing, but East Tennessee is under a cold weather advisory through tomorrow, with temperatures expected to dip as low as the single digits. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. If you're newly pregnant and haven't been able to afford health insurance, there's a good chance you qualify for Medicaid in our state. The government insurance program has a special application process for those who are pregnant. We bring you our new series called HealthQ. Reporters Kara Anthony and Blake Farmer are approachable guides to an unapproachable health system.
Blake, fun fact, August is the month with the highest birth rate in the U.S. So do you know what that means for right now?
Well, having a child born in that time frame, I don't even really have to do the math. I think it means a lot of people are just now finding out they're pregnant.
That's right. And when I hear pregnancy, I think healthcare, because we know from decades of research that prenatal care can make a huge difference for the long-term health of both mom and baby.
I don't think I appreciated just how much prenatal care mattered until my own little ones were on the way.
I remember going in for regular checkups when I was pregnant with my daughter Lily 9 years ago. I always felt better seeing the doctor, but to be honest, I struggled to pay our medical bills. I had a job, but didn't make a lot of money at the time. And I wish I had known back then that Medicaid might have been an option. Every state has a program to get pregnant moms with low incomes coverage through Medicaid.
Well, there's actually research that suggests not everyone who qualifies for Medicaid knows that they do.
I spoke with Matea Brooks in Illinois, and that was the case for her. She went to a nonprofit when she found out she was pregnant.
They asked if I had insurance. I didn't know anything at the time, so I was just like, no, I don't think so. And I guess I seemed a little timid and scared. They were just, real helpful. Like, here are some phone numbers to a Illinois department that could help you with that.
She called the state agency and went in person to apply. Her coverage started that day.
Okay, but we are talking about a government program here, so I'm sure there's a lot of paperwork.
Of course, it takes some research. Each state has different requirements, but to apply, you'll likely have to provide your Social Security number, proof of residency, and proof of income. But it's good to know that when you're pregnant, you can make what some might consider a decent amount of money and still qualify for Medicaid.
I know here in Tennessee, if you're pregnant, the income ceiling to get coverage more than doubles compared to other eligible groups.
One more thing to keep in mind, you will have to prove you're pregnant, but they might take your word for it at first, then confirm with your provider later.
Okay, so once you're in, what exactly does Medicaid cover?
It really depends on the plan, which we say a lot with Medicaid. Matea didn't have to pay for any of her appointments, medication, or delivery. And I talked to another new mom, Ashley Farrell. She lost her job when she was pregnant and applied for Medicaid in Georgia. Her plan offered mental health care and other benefits.
Mine gave me a free breast pump. You can get postpartum supplies. Also, you get rewards for going to your appointments. They give you like grocery cards, or gas card. Or some of them give car seats or strollers.
Sounds like a pretty positive experience. But I do know from my reporting that not everyone feels this way about Medicaid.
Right. It can be complicated and stressful even if you qualify, because it can be hard to find healthcare providers who accept Medicaid and are accepting new patients. But if it works out, it's one less thing to worry about in a season that's exciting and also a little scary.
That's Kara Anthony and Blake Farmer of HealthQ from WPLN and KFF Health News. We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday, so subscribe in your favorite podcasting app to make sure you never miss an episode. And if you like this, you'll probably enjoy the Nash Villager newsletter, too. You'll get perspective from more of my colleagues at Nashville Public Radio and links to the stories we're following. Sign up for those daily emails at WPLN.org/NashVillager. Thanks so much for listening. Let's try to make this day a good one if we can, and we'll catch back up tomorrow.